Welcome to Secular Soup. Stay tuned for real talk about atheism, feminism, politics, parenting, and whatever the fuck else Amy and Amy want to talk about, because this is their show. And get ready for a whole lot of motherfucking profanity.
You want to hear a secret?
I won't tell anybody. Go ahead. If I sit next to you, I'm going to get gonorrhea. It's going to jump into me. Just two ladies hanging out.
Is it okay for me to make fun of his neck waddle if I make fun of my own neck waddle?
I'm not sure.
That's a real ethical conundrum.
Would you know if you were born a lizard person, or can you be like adopted into the...
I think you know.
We're such professionals.
We really are.
Buckle up, bitches. It's time to have some soup.
I'm Amy with a Y.
And I'm Amy with an I.
And we're just two blueberries floating in a bowl of tomato soup. You are listening to episode 44 by my count. I don't know. It's mid-40s. Who cares anymore?
Numbers.
That's kind of my feeling.
When you stop counting, you're like, it's 35. It's just...
Well, and with these lady brains, like, who can keep track of numbers past 40 anyway? They didn't teach me that in school.
I stop at 20 because that's how many fingers and toes I have. So
yeah, that's true. I stop at 10 because I'm too lazy to count on my toes. So I just go through my fingers. So tonight we actually have some guests on the show who are waiting patiently in the background and trying not to talk out of reverence for us. It's
a moment of silence for us.
Yeah, we heard about these fine podcasters on the Wayward Willis podcast. That's where I first heard about them. So we would like to welcome Mike and Ryan from the Unholy Generation Podcast. You want to say hi, guys?
Hello. Yeah, good to be here.
What's going on?
So they do a podcast about atheism. We don't know what it's really about because we don't listen to other podcasts.
Right, no.
Ours is the only good one.
I thought everybody heard our podcast by this point.
No.
You saying that's not true?
Yeah, we have like over 1,000 total listens.
Oh my god!
We were like neck and neck with like scathing atheists. I thought we were like just about to pass them.
Well,
we don't talk about any other podcast either.
Yeah, we don't. Especially Tom and Cecil. We do not give them airtime on this show. They are bullshit.
It's funny because that's indirectly how I found you guys.
Oh,
because I listened through their entire back catalog, and then I was like, I need to find something else. And then I found Dumb All Over. And then as I was doing a little bit of research on them, you guys came up in the Google search for like people also searched for Secular Soup.
And I believe you were the person that introduced me to Dumb All Over, which is what prompted me to write the review to get on that show, and history was made. So
yes.
If I'm remembering correctly.
Magic happened. Yeah.
I wanted to make sure. Oh, go ahead.
And then Tom and Austin forgot about us until...
Yeah, we forgot about that. So.
Until recently,
Yeah, they're forgetable.
Yeah,
that was a fun episode, though, with them.
Yeah, our crossover.
We enjoyed it. That was actually like really fun to record.
We've been talking about doing it again, but then we'd have to talk to them again. So I don't know. It could go either way. I don't know.
It's a mixed bag.
We don't like them getting their man germs all over our podcast. So
yeah, gross.
I wanted to make sure before we go any further, I know you two were on the Wayward Willis podcast. Did you get Crohn's disease from being on that show? Because John gives people Crohn's disease. I don't know if you'd heard that.
I'm aware of that. Were you aware that he also gives you people diabetes?
Oh, wow.
Diabetes. That's a new one.
Diabetes.
I knew atomic space herpes was one that everybody got.
I already had that. I think I got it.
You've had that since like 10.
Just going on that show is too much of a risk. I wasn't aware of these consequences when I went on.
Are you fully vaccinated? Do you have?
Yes.
Yeah, you need to get all your shots.
You can be vaccinated against super space herpes?
You have to go to a vet.
Vaccination?
It's different.
Okay. It's one of those ass shots, you know, like the needle's this long and it hurts really bad.
It's worth it though to not get all those Wayward Willis diseases that they spread to everyone.
The vaccine is just pure mercury.
Pretty much, yeah. Totally worth it.
But it comes in the form of a swordfish.
Euthanization. They just euthanize you.
Oh, John, we love you.
Good news. It's a suppository.
Okay, so we did have one thing we wanted to talk about right off the bat. Ryan, before you guys tell us about your show, because we'll get to that, but I know Ryan had something he wanted to talk about.
I thought you were going to bitch about the Boy Scouts first, but we can...
Well, I was gonna, but we'll circle back around to it because we're gonna.
The Boy Scouts will suck later, also, so it's all good.
Yeah, Boy Scouts are always.
I'm sure we'll lose
terrible,
track and start talking about the Boy Scouts.
Yeah. We'll circle back around and we'll get.
That has never happened in the history of this show.
Yeah, we'll get their opinions on it. It'll be good to have.
Neither it hasn't happened to us either. Right?
We stay strictly on topic,
nudge,
so
nudge.
I've penciled the Boy Scouts in for later in the episode, and I'll let you know when we've hit that mark. So
That sounds exciting. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen. It's weird.
anyway, so Ryan, jump in with the whole thing we were going to do for this show, or I guess why we've kind of got you as a special guest this time.
Yeah, so fairly recently, I would say at the beginning of the summer, I came out as trans. And
Yay!
it's started a huge, cascading journey, and it's been a lot of fun so far. I don't have a lot of money, so that puts a lot of restrictions on things, but yeah, it's just been really interesting to explore that side of myself finally. So, yep.
And so you don't go by Ryan anymore? Is that the case? Or
I don't really care, but
okay.
yeah, because
I just want to make sure we're using the right name for you. So.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, because Ryan is androgynous. Yeah.
It really is.
True. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I am going to start using a different name soon. But yeah, so going along with all that, I don't have a lot of money type stuff, though. I've been starting to progressively do things like dress a little bit more feminine and painting my nails and wearing I got my nose pierced and just a couple of things to make myself feel a little bit more comfortable. And I also am in college right now at UTSA down in San Antonio. And I connected with the Spectrum, which is the gay straight or the gay club, I guess. Mm-hmm. And so I'm in a group of lesbians, and that has been a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, Ren, I remember we've been kind of circling this, but you were going to tell us that story when you talked to your parents about this on another podcast. And I asked you about it after because it didn't happen. I was like, you were building this up. Like what happened? Because he's been talking about it. He's like, oh, no, I got to tell it later. It's going to be good, though.
Yeah.
So is this the occasion in which we're going to unveil that little jewel, or are we going to keep that hidden?
Yeah. So the original people that I was going to go on their podcast and talk about this was Tom and Austin from Dumb All Over.
Oh, yeah, they're terrible.
Yeah, it
Not
got
really a
so
safe place.
yeah,
No.
it got so sidetracked and everything.
Yeah, we derailed horribly.
Yeah,
You do that.
so I've been keeping this from Michael for so long because I know he knows my dad.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh
So
yes.
So I wrote out this big long note to both of my parents, and so I told my
So I actually never read that. The only part of that I read, Ryan forwarded me this, and he's like, "Hey, do you think this is funny?" And it said something along the lines of like, "Hey, mom and dad, I'm like a Satanist priest, and I sacrifice children. Just kidding, but I am trans." And I was like, "Well, why don't you go with like, hey, I'm dating a black guy?" You know, like, I think that would make them just as uncomfortable. You know?
Oh my God.
That's probably true. But anyway, so I decided to give the note to my mom first, and that was earlier in the day. And she had not a positive reaction, but not a completely negative reaction either. She just cried a lot, and she was very confused.
His mom's pretty even. Like she's very not like his dad.
Yeah, she's like I would say politically, she's like a Lisa Murkowski. But yeah, so then I was avoiding telling my dad for as long as I could until my mom forced me to, basically. Yeah. So I came out, and my dad was watching Tucker Carlson.
Oh boy. No.
And
Strong start.
Just coincidentally, Tucker Carlson was talking about a trans woman politician.
Oh no.
And so my dad was like, "This is some fucking bullshit." I don't, and he's just talking shit about it like that, and I was like, "Okay, well, Dad, I gotta."
On that note,
and so I gave him the note, and so I had two notes. One of them was a short note just to get it out of the way up front, and then much longer one that was explaining more things, more in depth. So I gave him the short one and kept the long one for myself because I didn't know how he was going to react. And so he read it very quietly, and I sat in silence for quite a while. And then when he was done reading it, he tossed it away, kind of. And he was like, "Are you serious? Are you serious?"
Is that what he said?
Yeah. And then I was like,
God.
I didn't know how to respond because I expected him to kind of blow up a little bit more. Right. And I was like, read the next one. And he was like, I handed it to him and he saw that it was 8 pages long and he was like, I'm not reading this.
Oh, God.
You wrote me a goddamn novel. I'm not going to read this.
No.
And so I kind of just like, I was kind of petrified. And then he started yelling at me. That's when he started yelling. But it got to a point. No, it's just listen. This is funny.
Okay. We're both concerned moms here.
I know. So it got to a point where he started questioning where this was coming from. And of course, he was making it all about himself. So he was like, you're just doing this because of of that liberal university that you're going to.
UTSA?
Yeah, UTSA. Yeah, the university that had a problem with Patriot Front.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. But yeah, then it kind of got to a point where he was trying to link it to a liberal conspiracy to turn conservative dads into progressives.
Okay. That sounds really brilliant. We need to work.
Why haven't we done this yet?
There's no downside.
Oh my gosh.
No downside.
What the hell?
But yeah, so I mean that's the best part right there. But yeah, I haven't talked to him since the summer, and I'm kind of okay with that.
Sounds like you're not. Yeah, there's like a lot you're not missing from that relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I want to connect with him again, but it's never been a very easy relationship with him. Right. So yeah, because I've always kind of been different from my siblings. They're all pretty conservative, and I have been, but
well, your dad has a difficult personality. Like, you remember that one time when I went over to your house and we were hanging out, and it was like 3 a.m, and we started watching, I think it was like Ridiculousness or Impractical Jokers.
Yeah, it was Impractical Jokers,
and we were sitting downstairs. A great show.
Yes,
it is a fantastic show. I love that show. We were sitting down there and we were laughing. We were like, "Oh, that's funny shit!" And then his dad just comes out in his underwear, just stands outside the bedroom and stares at us like this. Don't say a word for like a solid 2 minutes, and Ryan's like, should we turn the volume down? And just walks back in without saying a fucking word.
This episode?
like, did you miss the funny part? I don't.
I'll restart the episode for you.
Yeah, he just stood behind us in his Walter Whitey's, just not saying anything until we noticed.
Stared at us. It was very uncomfortable.
He's an oddball.
It's a nightmare.
That's funny though.
Yeah, the whole thing just makes me sad, I guess, as a mom. Like I know there's parents like that out there, but I can't understand it.
I can't even imagine being.
No,
like
my son, I have 2 sons, but my youngest son is quirky. I guess I want to put it that way. He's very, I guess, mine too. Yeah, in touch with both his masculine and feminine side. And like he came home from school and he had picked out something from the little treasure box, and it was this just badass diamond headband that had it really was cool. And he's just the kind of kid that's like, what? I got the diamond headband. He wears it around the house. He thinks he looks good in it. And my husband is more like my husband's not conservative at all, but he worries more about, God, what if other kids make fun of him though? Or what if one of the other kids said something to him? And
okay. Yeah, that was more like my mom's attitude.
Yeah, he's like, I paint both my boys' toenails whenever they want me to and shit like that. And it's just, we treat it like not a big deal. My kids are who they are. And I can't imagine being a parent that's so worried about, just fucking let your kids be who your kids are. I get that it's hard to see them change.
Anyway.
But
it's either join them in the journey or, you know, end up losing a relationship.
Yeah, and then be miserable because you don't have that relationship with your child. Like, unless your kid's I guess if my kids were serial killers, and I don't know because I haven't experienced this yet, but I'd probably visit them in jail.
End of the spectrum.
I mean,
I mean, I don't know. I've met a lot of people, and I get it. Like, I can understand wanting to like murder a big group of people.
That's true. I feel like if my kids were serial killers, they'd be the Dexters of the world, doing it for the right reasons.
I'd be like, I understand, but maybe don't.
Yeah.
Oh god, I was at work today, and I was like, I work in sales. And this lady came into the shop. Normally I work in the mall, so like I'm trying to like flag people down, and then once I get them in the booth, I can sell to them. But this one, I just worked in a brick and mortar store where people come in, and it's really easy because they come in with a problem. I just sell them what they need. Right. But this freaking lady came in, and oh my god, she just threw a fit, like a freaking tantrum right in the middle of the store. And my poor freaking manager was trying to like console her because she was like, you don't have the thing I want. And, we were like, yeah, we don't have that anymore. It was discontinued. She's like, no. 6 months ago, they said that if I wanted a new one, they would have them. And I was just watching, and I was like, I've never felt like I wanted to murder somebody, but I'm getting pretty close with this lady. Like, I'm about to go over there and slap the shit out of her.
Oh my God. Prefaced with, you don't condone violence against women.
Of course.
Just that one particular woman, right? Okay. Just got to get that out of the way.
That would have been true for anybody in that room. Like, my boss looked like she was about to tackle this lady, so strangling her in the middle of the store.
Okay, so I do have to empathize. People. Yeah, having worked in retail, I
Oh, it's the worst.
I've done tech support too.
Oh god.
Oh god.
Oh, that's the worst. Because you only get pissed off people in that job.
Yeah.
They're always pissed.
Oh god, I would hate that.
But I mean, at least they were paying me $9 an hour, so
So totally worth it. Yeah, for that sweet cash.
You're making so much money.
I was like, this phone call, it's worth it.
Yeah, it's the American dream, really, is being yelled at by strangers and only making $9 an hour. It's what we all strive to do in America.
Right, and they were like, you're going to be working the southern area, so you're going to get Florida. I'm like, god damn it.
Oh, no.
See, I bet you were there with your little
There's going to be a bunch of old
I'm living
people
in a mansion. I don't even care right now. Like, I'm getting paid so much. You should see my house.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. So, do you have any idea what kind of car that buys?
Yeah, a really nice,
just a wagon with an engine duct taped to it.
It's called Bus Pass. Yeah.
Oh, we're so rich. So bringing it back around to the Boy Scouts, because I'd like to have maybe some boy opinions, or I guess one boy opinion.
Actually, interesting fact, I was a Boy Scout.
Yeah, regular list. You were a Boy Scout?
I was a Boy Scout. I did Boy Scouts since I was little. I started in Cub Scouts. I went all the way up through Webelos. And
my kids did too.
Big Kid Boy Scouts for a while too.
Yeah, my kids did too until they didn't go to church anymore, and then they started removing badges from them, or didn't let them get badges they'd earned because they were no longer religious.
Oh, that's so stupid.
Yeah.
Well, here's my problem is my kid wanted to join Cub Scouts. He's in 3rd grade, and he was just all excited because he saw the stupid flyer and it had archery on it, and he really just wanted to do archery. But I was all worried about the religious angle, so I had been texting the pack leader back and forth saying, we're atheists, and how is this is he going to be welcome there, blah, blah, blah. And he really reassured me with the religion angle, so I was like, okay, cool, we're going to try this. We bought the uniform shirt and bought the book and went to about 3 meetings. And by the 3rd one, I was just kind of like, okay, I spent so much time worrying about the religious angle that it didn't even occur to me to think about the authoritarian angle of it and the obedience angle. And, they sat there, their very first patch that they get is the one where they have to not memorize, but they have to understand the Scout oath and go through the
oath, and then they have
the values and... and so the big
motto, all that shit.
The guy was going through the and first of all, the pack leader is just kind of a dick. I just really got a dick vibe from him. This guy though was just ugh. And so they're going through the Scout oath, and they're really stressing obedience. And with law enforcement officers, you need to really respect that they, that you need to do what they say and do it. And it just was like, I kind of want my kids to question authority and not follow things blindly. And I'm not sure I like this whole vibe. And like, that's how kids get raped, by telling them just don't question authority.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong.
It just, the whole vibe was like, ew. And then they were doing the whole flag thing, and they were really stressing, we stay standing when the flag is in motion. That's, we always stay standing when the flag is in motion. Like, do we though? Like, I don't need.
Sounds like his car needs to be keyed.
I really felt like their whole thing, like the undercurrent of it was, we're going to turn these boys into men because we live in this culture. Like, this isn't what they said, but the feeling I got was, all these boys these days that just don't know how to be men. We're going to turn these boys into men, and we're going to make them,
America.
Yeah. And it was just like my kid in his glitter headband just didn't, he was, by the third one, he's like, I don't think I want to go back to Scouts. It's not my thing. So yeah, I encouraged him to at least, I'm like, can we at least give it another try?
I was like, yeah, let's stop. Let's do this.
I made it long enough to make it look like I was giving it a chance. Like, let's go one more time and just see. But then finally, when he was like, I don't want to, I'm like, yeah, no, that's cool. We don't have to go back.
No, that's fine.
No, I don't.
That way you don't have to be parent friends with all of those kids' moms.
So I think I saw my ex-boyfriend there, but I couldn't tell if it was him or not.
Of course you did.
Oh my God. I'm sitting there and this guy's handing out the popcorn sales form on the fucking second meeting. Like, we just got here and you're already hitting us up with the popcorn sales, but whatever. So this guy's handing him out and he looks at me and I made eye contact with him and he's like, hi. And he said it in a very familiar, like, I know you kind of way. And this is a small town. So I looked at him and for a second I'm like, oh shit, that's my ex-boyfriend from like 20 years ago. But then I couldn't really tell, because if it is him, he gained like 100 pounds and he has a full beard and he had a hat on.
Oh shit.
And I sat there the whole meeting trying not to creep stare at him, but like side-eyeing him to try to figure it out. And I still don't know if it was him or not. But
yeah, you got to be thinking that he was probably thinking the same thing, and you were both just too awkward to say anything about it.
No, because he would have recognized me. I don't look that different from 20 years ago. Like,
me too. Like, I show pictures to people and I look but pretty much the same.
He would have recognized me, but with him, it was mainly like the facial hair, the hat, the gained weight. I really couldn't get a good look at the face to see if it was him. So yeah, if it is him, now he's going to think that my kid's not coming back to Scouts because of him, and it's not the case. But whatever, he dumped me. I don't care. Fuck him. Yeah, whatever. Cheated on me with somebody else and then married her and had 4 kids. Go to hell.
Bastard.
Anyway, so I'm glad we're all on board with the Boy Scouts sucking. Now I feel better about my decision to...
Well, they have the navigators where there's a secular option.
So I did Boy Scouts, and I also did another thing, Indian Guides. And
with Chevy Chase?
It's kind of like... I don't even fucking remember.
Saw that movie.
Like, I just remember, the only thing I remember about Indian Guides is that I went with my dad, and it was a father-son thing. So it was all the dads and all their sons. And we met at somebody's house, and then they made us leather vests, and they had like the tassels, and then they passed her on this goblet of what was it? It was tomato juice, and they said it was buffalo blood. And we all like took a swig.
Gross.
So only half racist.
It's pretty racist.
Well, then the idea is like, we're all Indians now, Oh
my god.
So
yeah,
I didn't really know what that was about.
Yeah.
But we did that for a little while.
Yeah.
But I did Boy Scouts for a lot longer, and I did get stuff out of it. And I know what you're talking about, because that whole like, manly, raise these kids up to be good, wholesome Christian Americans.
Yeah.
That was in there. Like, I remember when I was in the Boy Scouts, not the Cub Scouts, the pack leader, the den leader, he was this kind of like old Colonel Sanders looking motherfucker. And, whenever we would like be doing stuff, we had to like, when we'd camp, they'd bring the camper. We had to fucking unload the camper, and it would be like 2 a.m. or something ridiculous, because we'd drive out there, and we'd be like, do we have to unload the camper? He'd like, no, you get to unload the camper.
Oh my God.
And we're like, fuck.
So basically child labor.
Unload the camper. Well, as Ryan knows, I have an extensive history of child child labor, so that wasn't new to me.
It seems like they try to make it kind of like the military, but in my experience, the military is quite different from how you're describing it.
Well, because it wasn't really like the military. It was like, it was more like if you went to an outdoor camp led by like Chuck Norris or Bear Grylls or something like that, and he's like, this is what a man does, you know? like it was kind of like that. But it was, so I did enjoy like the camping and stuff, but as a kid, I remember I generally ignored that entire culture and I just kind of did what I fucking wanted. So like I'd go to the camps and they'd be like, yeah, self-reliance, independence, be manly. And I'd be like, when do we get to play with the knives? When do I get to shoot things with arrows? Like, that's what I'm here for. I don't know what these guys came for, but that's what I care about. You know?
That's what my kid was in it for. He just wanted to like shoot arrows and go camping and
scouting events or the camping trips and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I got out of it was certain merit badges were actually really fun. Like some of the merit badges were really good because they gave me like important skills. Like when I was like fucking 12 or something, I got CPR certified. And then when I was 14, I did the survival course. I actually saved somebody's life on that survival course because they sucked at it and I happened to be really good at it. Lucky for them. But I mean, I did get stuff out of it. But it was only because like I like was interested in that specific stuff. But then the rest of it, I was like, take it or leave it. I don't really like. I don't respond.
They
to that,
also did the meetings at 6:30 p.m. every Monday, and like, come on, it's dark already by 6:30 here. I need to go to bed by 7. I can't deal with this shit. My kid needs a solid. He's got ADHD, and he needs like a solid hour to settle down before bedtime. And we don't get home until 7:30.
It's already 7:20. I ate
at 3 o'clock. It was. I ate
we're
then
elderly,
too.
I need to eat again.
You eat again, yeah.
Well, the thing that weirded me out is that they were always at churches.
There's one was at a church.
Like, I don't even like being here when you have to be here. Why am I here just like on off hours? This is terrible.
I had to explain to my kid that the church was not a house. He was convinced it was a house, and
that'd be a pretty nice house.
Don't go to church, I had to be like, he's like, no, but actually, it's really a house. I'm like, nobody lives there, but it's a house. I'm like, but it's not.
Jesus' house.
Oh yeah, we were told that you can't run in Jesus' house.
Ugh, fuck that.
Aren't the Boy Scouts kind of affiliated with like the Mormon Church or something?
Mormons. Well, they're backing out because they let the girls in, and you know that just taints everything.
Wait, so the Mormons are backing out because Boy Scouts let girls? Huh. Cool.
Well, the Boy Scouts, this is the first year apparently that they let girls in. And when they told me that, I was like, awesome. I thought that was, because that was one of the things stopping me too from letting him join was I wanted it to be co-ed. I want my boys to know that girls are their equals and can be their friends. And I don't like the segregated bullshit. And so I was like, yes. And then I found out that, they let them in, but they have to be in like separate dens with separate leaders. It's not co-ed. It's they can have but so it's stupid. But
so they're backing out. I don't remember exactly when, but they've given like a deadline, like in 2021 or whatever, or 2020, that they're going to be phasing it out and replacing it with their own program, which is probably just going to be like heavily indoctrinated program with like knives and archeries to make it cool for the boys.
Sounds safe.
Girls, we had no program similar. We had nothing like that. It was like the boys would be playing basketball and doing all these cool things, and the girls would be like, you know, learn to cook for your man or something.
Learning how to run a vacuum.
Learn to make casseroles.
I am a great cook. I am a fantastic cook, but it's because I was raised Mormon. I also can sew. I can, do all kinds of things, and it's because I was raised Mormon.
See, I'm good at those things too, but because the reason why is if I didn't learn to do those things in college, I would have starved and walked around naked. So
I can't do any of those things because I'm terrible at stuff.
I mean, you're basically, I just hand over your woman card because that's
I can't
all
cook.
Women are good for.
I made some
I feel like I didn't learn any useful
today.
skills.
I made some cookie brownies.
I can also
from
set
a box.
fires and stuff.
I can't set a fire.
Because we camped. We did girls' camp too.
Camping
sucks. The other thing I enjoyed in Boy Scouts was setting shit on fire. I got really good at setting shit on fire.
But I can't put a fire out like nature intended.
My kid
I
can
never
set
really took
fires
that
on
much
his own
like
time.
learning for the putting out the fire part, but lighting the fire, I was great at that.
We've
You
got-
give me wet wood in a
I
rainstorm.
hear
fucking light that
stories
shit
of how
on
the
fire.
Boy Scouts put fires out. I'm like, yeah, I can't do that. That sounds fun.
You just don't have the anatomy
Got to
to
get
do
the right
it.
angle.
Yeah, but then you have to
That
stand
sounds like
directly
something Gwen
over it.
Stefani would recommend, and I'm not into that.
So you
Gwyneth
got to put
Paltrow,
down
you
your
mean?
casserole pan, and then you have your pans free.
Gwyneth Paltrow, yes. Not Gwen Stefani. Her birthday was Wednesday. I
Two
remember
totally
I heard
different
something.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard something about her. Okay.
So, Ryan, back to you. So, are you, just a question, are you going to start, I mean, do you prefer like she, her pronouns? Have you had thoughts about the pronoun thing yet? What are you thinking about that?
Well, so my lesbians have encouraged me to be a little bit more brave and forward with it because, you know, it's a new thing. So it's kind of strange.
And it's whatever you feel comfortable with, too.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm beginning to be comfortable with she, her, and it feels pretty good.
Well, good.
Because that, I don't know about Amy, but I assume so.
Don't assume.
My stance is when someone tells me pronouns they prefer, you know, that's it. Like it's
it's not hard to, especially when you have a personal relationship with someone. It's really not like I have a cousin who's trans, and it was hard at first to switch over to he from she. You know, he's a man now because
you had known him his entire life.
I've known him since he was born, you know, and it had been years and like 20 years of one way, and then trying to switch to something else was difficult, but making the effort is really not that hard. It's even my mom who's doesn't quite understand all this trans stuff and what it all means. Even she is like, it's not hard just to be nice.
It's not hard.
And just to make the effort.
It's the same courtessy as using someone's correct name or spelling something correctly. If someone asks you to spell their name a certain way, like that's just...
Unless it's that they're trying to spell Amy with an I, then you tell them they're a monster and say that's not how you spell Amy.
Grandfather, until his dying day, spelled my name wrong. I don't care.
So speaking of names, though, I have kind of always had a problem with my birth name, Ryan, just because it's so difficult to. It's one of those names where people can't hear it correctly.
Oh, it's Brian,
it's
right?
Brian or Ray or Roy or whatever the fuck they can think of.
Really?
Yeah.
Never heard that one. Okay.
Yeah, Amy's pretty easy, I don't think. My kids both have weird names that I've never mentioned on the show, but yeah. So my kids constantly get confused, but
I've had similar misunderstandings with some of my children's names, so yeah, I get it.
Yeah, names are strange.
And then
I'll be pictures or something. I don't know.
So the new name that I'm gonna start using is Kara, and so I started like, you know, my lesbian friends like to call me that, and so one day, you know, I thought that was a relatively safe name for, like, you know, being able to communicate it to people, and then somebody called me Carl.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Just can't win. Right?
Oh no!
It's not even.
It's not even close, Carl.
Carl.
And then you have to go watch those videos.
God. Oh, God.
It's funny when you say my lesbian friends, because I have...
I know, I chuckled every time.
Well,
my lesbian friend.
I have an inordinate number of middle-aged lesbian friends. Like, most of my friends in town are lesbians aged 50 and above. And I don't know how that happened. It just did. Like, most of my best friends...
Like you find your niche.
Yeah.
And you just roll with it.
It's like every middle-aged lesbian in town is cool. And they're all
like,
just...
I hang out with the ex-Mormon divorcees with foul mouths. I'm like, I wonder how I found this niche in this like conservative area.
Most of my lesbian friends also have foul mouths, but they're just...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's weird. It's like I'm in this small town and it's just a higher than should be average amount of my friends are over the age of 50 and or lesbians.
At the risk of stereotyping, when I was in the Army, a lot of my friends were lesbians. I don't know why, but I seem to click very well with them for some reason. So when I got to UTSA, that was the group that I made a beeline for because I don't know, for some reason I've just always gotten along. Yeah,
That's
cool
funny.
people. Mm-hmm.
My friends group is so freaking diverse. Like,
Well, yeah.
I got
look at
gay
you.
friend. Well, okay, so the one kind of friend I really don't have is I don't have very many straight friends. All other parts of the spectrum, I got friends for that.
Cool.
Not very many straight friends, though.
Straight people are boring.
I do.
So you're the token
Experience.
straight, Michael.
Wait, what?
You're the token straight.
Yeah, yes. The
That's
token
funny.
straight.
Speaking of which, Michael, why aren't you in Canada yet? Because we have decreed on this show that straight white men all need to go to Canada.
I'm Mexican, does that help?
It's acceptable, but we decided that the straight white men would have too much fun in Mexico, so as a punishment, they have to go to Canada. And that's how we're going to solve America's
I'm
problems.
Mexican, though. We'll just swim our way back. Like, that's the thing. You can't put up a wall. You can't put a lake in front of us. We'll find a way back.
Oh my God. When they were talking about that wall, it was making me laugh so hard. I'm like, people know about planes and boats, right?
And ladders.
Ladders.
I mean, shit, the Cubans get here and
My
there's an
favorite part
ocean.
was when Trump.
It's called the Gulf of Mexico. It's right there.
Yeah, so he was talking about the wall. It was like probably 2 years ago. I don't think he was even president yet, but he was saying like, so what? Well, they'll get a 40-foot ladder and we'll build it 50 feet tall, and they'll get a 50-foot ladder. Then what are they going to do? Bring a rope?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
It's like a cartoon.
You got it.
It's like a really bad Roadrunner cartoon that we're living in.
Seriously.
Like, if we make a staircase that's 50 stairs high, what are they going to climb? 51 stairs? Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
Just because he won't. He's like, that sounds...
By the way,
that's
some
where
of
he's cut
our
off. He's just like, oh, okay, I'm done. I made 50 stairs. That's it. Nobody's going to come this high.
some of our listeners and Twitter followers mentioned that they wanted to hear a Kavanaugh rant out of us, but I explained that we just don't have it in us. And you've probably heard a million good Kavanaugh rants on other podcasts. Thomas Smith did a great one that said everything I'm thinking.
Episode.
So
Yeah.
go back and listen to Serious Inquiries Only. Listen to Thomas Smith rant about it, and you'll be inside my head. And that's
Just
that's all I can't.
everybody.
Okay,
just
so I have
doesn't
something
care.
related. It's not a Kavanaugh rant, but it is related. I had an epiphany this morning when I was just in the car driving.
We'll allow it.
So,
Just this once.
I was talking in the morning to my mom about, she was like, oh, what's going on with Kavanaugh? I was like, oh, yeah, they appointed him. And for me, I have just sort of been watching this from the outside. I really never got that involved because it's just been a media circus. And it's very difficult to even figure out, well, what was the initial incident if you didn't see it when it happened, So I wasn't paying attention when this story first hit. Now I'm just seeing the media circus aftermath. So it's kind of difficult to whittle down what really was going on. So I wasn't paying too much attention, and I always wondered, like, why are everybody making such a big deal over this? And I talked to my mom about it, and, she was like, oh, yeah, he, believes that we shouldn't, put a standing president on trial for a crime. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then when I was in the car driving, I was thinking about it, and I thought about that comment that Pat Robertson made where he wanted to pray to God to throw confusion into the mind of the accusers. And I was like, wow, that's a pretty scumbag position. Like think about it. He's sitting there going like, oh man, I hope God fucks with the accusers, which basically means like my political standing is so important. I'm willing to help out a rapist. Go rapist.
Oh, yeah. They'll go so much further than that.
Yeah,
But then I thought about it more, and on our last episode with me and Ryan, we were talking about Revelations, the book of Revelation, and we had this discussion about John the Apostle. And there's Christian fanfic about the Christians think that, oh, maybe John the Apostle's still alive because Jesus said he'd come back before all the apostles died, and they all died and Jesus didn't come back. But the Bible never said John died, so maybe he's still kicking around there somewhere. And as I was driving, I was like...
That's the takeaway from that, not that it's not true.
Well, no, I was driving and it came to me. I figured it out. I was like, holy shit. Pat Robertson is John the Apostle. He's been kicking around for 2,000 years, like changing his name every few hundred years, you know? And, like, look how decrepit he is. Of course he's 2,000 years old.
That is funny.
I gotta say, it's a solid theory.
When he dies, Jesus is coming back. Like, these are the end times, because when Pat Robertson kicked it, it's all over. The locusts are coming.
I mean, he's lived this long, though. I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Right.
So,
yeah, it's been just so draining. I can't even think straight about it. I can't say anything about it either because it's just too much.
I do want to tell you what's been going on my campus, though. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. So just to give you a little bit of context, we had this whole controversy last semester with students or not students, according to the administration, but who cares? They were affiliated with the Patriot Front. And they started posting flyers all around campus with like anti-Jewish propaganda and stuff like that.
Oh, you told me about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So that's just a little bit of context for, you know, my first semester back after the Army. And so this semester with this whole Kavanaugh thing, what is it called? The Young Americans for Freedom. They started this when Beto recently came to our campus. They decided to have a counter protest that was pro Kavanaugh, and so they had some, you know, really shitty signs, along with the president of the SSA, who was holding up a sign that said "Witch Hunt."
Wait, that was the SSA president?
Really?
Yeah,
Secular Student Alliance?
Yeah, the president of the SSA.
Oh, isn't that the guy who shunned you for criticizing
Jordan Peterson?
He shall not be named.
Did he spell it wrong?
No. I don't think so.
I mean, that would have been fun. I know.
Yeah, but so
because then you could stand next to him with a grammar correction.
Yeah, so we had our trolls though. It was pretty great. Like this guy from the DSA, he has a sign that he made probably years ago. Every time there's a conservative protest on campus, he brings it, and it's just this really well-made sign that says "The Earth equals flat." And he just goes in and stands.
And he just stands with them.
Yeah.
So they're all affiliated with him, and he looks like a crazy. So therefore, we're all crazy.
That's trolling I can get behind. I like that.
Me too.
Yeah, so there was a whole bunch of crazy shit that happened at that anti-Beto protest, including this guy wearing a MAGA hat that allegedly slapped a counter-protester, and that was a whole ridiculous story. But it seems like the administration of the school is kind of like trying to play arbitrator. Like they're very, very centrist, but it does seem like he kind of favors conservative organizations. And
there's good people on both sides.
That's the area too. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's the area too. You know, that's just
for sure.
San Antonio is pretty liberal, but not that area.
Well, to be fair though, you got to make sure that the universities aren't turning people trans, because I heard that's what they're doing. Is they've got programs in
Wayward
place
Willis for Crohn's disease.
They're
the number
turning
one
them
cause
trans and making sure that they're all socialists too. They got to be socialists and trans and rapists.
And it turns women into whores.
Wow,
of course.
Aren't all women whores in Texas? That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Well, that's only if they're not wearing a chastity belt with an ankle-length dress. Then they're a whore.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So then the day after that, there was a response protest from Planned Parenthood and Texas Rising and a whole bunch of progressive groups. And there wasn't. It was about an equal-sized crowd. So that was good. That was something I was kind of a little bit worried about because it was on a Friday. Then the president sent out this email that was basically saying, all right, so there are good people on both sides. We just have to,
God.
I mean, this is a free speech. This university is dedicated to free speech, and that means
all your words matter. Go home. We hear you from your dorms.
Yeah, so it's also Spirit Week, and one of the things that we do at this school is each student organization gets a window that they get to paint on, and the theme for this year is tradition, spirit, and pride. So Planned Parenthood's window says, Students United for Planned Parenthood. UTSA's tradition is silencing survivors' spirit and siding with sexists and fascists, and there's no pride in that.
Good.
Salty, I like it.
Spicy.
Yes.
Yeah, so
You know, it's not Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you were saying though, it's taken all of the energy out of me. Like that was the first protest that I ever went to, and like this whole Kavanaugh thing and everything that happened at my school, I'm just fucking drained.
Yeah, it just gets mentally
I can't
exhausting.
go to protests very often.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm cut out for
I've
it.
only ever stumbled into protests. Like I've never gotten up in the morning like I'm going to go to a protest. I was like when I was at A&M.
I'm always invited to them because
you're that
I'm real
type of
cool.
person.
You're just popular. They're like,
but yeah, I always get invited to them. Like I get like, hey, we're all going to get up. We're going to get on the train. We're going to go down to the city or whatever. I'm like, we have a problem here.
Since I'm in a rural area, we have in the past 2 years, we've had about 3 really successful marches, actually. But the groups that I'm in that have planned them, one was the science march. We did our own little science march here. Right. But we made damn sure before we did it that there were going to be at least like 100, 200 people there. Because especially in a town this size, that's going to be something that's on the front page of the paper because as we've discussed, nothing goes on in my town. And if you have something with 10 people, it just gets laughed at. Like, oh, look at the liberal hippies standing on the corner. So we had like we had a turnout of about 400 people for the science march. We did a march against hate during the Charlottesville thing, and we probably got 200 or 300 for that. We did one other one where we had about 200 or 300. But now there's like these side groups that are kind of affiliated with these organizations that keep wanting to have their own marches. And they're usually for environmental causes, but they'll only have like 10 people show up. And it just kills me because it's like people are going to make fun of that. Like they're going to make fun of the marches no matter what because the stupid libs out marching, get a job. But like when there's 10 people out.
It's so funny because I mean, you guys all know the whole thing. It's most liberals are just more educated. Yeah. Like you look at it across the board.
Jobs, like
so
but we've got
this job. I'm getting paid better than you. Shut up.
I can't say that. I mean, when I add all 3 jobs together, but you know.
But I just want to take some of these people and go like, if you're only going to get 10 people, don't do it because you're defeating the whole purpose. Like it's
that's phone bank numbers, not protest numbers.
Yeah, no. If you're going to have a march, make it matter, plan it, make sure that you're getting. You know, we've planned marches and then gone, no, we're canceling this because if only 10 of you are coming, we're not doing it because we're going to look like chumps. And my mom called me from work one day because she owns a shop right on the main street in town that all of the marches end up going by. And she's like, what's the protest about today? I'm surprised you're not there. And I'm like, I don't know. There's a protest. And she's like, well, there were only like 12 people. And I'm like, that's why I don't know.
I don't go to this.
She's like, it's something about the water. I don't know.
I was going to tell you a story, Amy.
Yeah.
So last night I went to play poker with my gentleman caller friend, and there was one other woman at the table, and we were just chit chatting in between. There's like breaks, and I was like, "Oh, hey, my name's Amy." She's like, "Hey, my name's Amy too." And she's like, "But it's spelled weird." And I was like, "Oh, really? How is yours spelled? Mine's spelled weird too." And she's like, "It's AIME." And I was like, "That's AMI." Like, oh my gosh.
AIME is just incorrect. Sorry.
I was like, I have to tell
AIM.
Yeah. I was going to say, that's AIM.
Yeah.
Can we all at least
I have to tell Amy about this?
Can we at least agree that if you spell it AIMEE, you're a monster?
Sure.
Because that's what I've been telling people on Facebook.
I was going to change my name to that and then put a star over the I.
Well, you got to do that. I like to put a heart over the I with a little sparkle coming from the heart and then a unicorn coming out of the M. And the Y tail is a dragon tail. It's very specific. I want...
So are we going to do questions?
Yeah,
are we gonna ask the Amieys.
I sent out
and guest.
Yes,
like we can ask everybody.
I only got one submission this week for Ask the Amieys, but I think we should save it for next week because it's about porn, and I feel like we would just go on for another hour. That could be its own episode. So instead, let's just pick one of our random book of questions numbers. And
Sounds
we will
good.
all answer it, and we'll answer it. See, it's getting late, and I can't function
I'm ready to
because
she can't human
I turn
anymore,
into a pumpkin at 8:00.
Yeah, it's true. It's real true.
Very true. So one of you pick a number. Mike, pick a number.
10.
Good.
That's a boring choice, but all right. I'm going to go with it.
Again?
Michael's very basic.
Oh, this could go on forever too, but okay.
goody.
It's a good one for this particular episode. Which sex do you think has it easier in our culture? Have you ever wished you were of the opposite sex? Serendipity. Mike, are you a psychic?
I might be.
Because that's what it says right here.
So if I am a psychic, I have to bill you for that.
Nah, I don't have any money. You can try, though.
This is just the free one.
Yeah.
This
is the free one to get us hooked.
$500 a minute. I mean, that's how psychics work,
No.
you know?
After the free phone call that goes
collecting.
like really well.
Yeah.
That's how they hook you. Is
that
they
was
tell
my
you
free phone
something.
call. See, that was my free phone call.
Yeah.
Would you like to know the future now?
No,
Not really. It's grim.
I heard your rates.
Damn it.
You shouldn't preface it with your rates.
Okay, I think I'll answer this last.
Okay, well, I think that women have it easier in our culture because we're in control of everything.
Of
Whenever
course.
we're assaulted, we are believed immediately. People just take our word for things, and they realize that we're more mature and smarter and that we have good ideas about things. So they really listen when we have something to say that's important. We really don't have to do much of anything. We kind of sit back and just let men take the wheel.
We just
and
basically coast based on our looks.
Yeah.
Like it's just real easy.
Assuming we're cute,
that's why
we
I'm
don't
at the
have to do
bottom.
anything. We just get free drinks and we don't have to work. So no, I've never wished I was male because why would I? So
I actually haven't either.
no.
But I don't think that there's any one that has it harder or easier. I think there's pros and cons to both gender.
I agree. And I like being a woman. I've never wanted to be a man. I just
I know
never really thought about
there's
it.
gender and sex and it's different.
Right.
And there's just differences in each category. It's just different. Like there's just strengths and weaknesses and probably pros and cons too. It's just
I feel like that's one of the things that you have to answer more on an individual basis.
yeah. And we've talked about it on the show before that we're aware of certain privileges that we're afforded, but we're also aware of certain pitfalls. So it's just, and I wouldn't know the privileges. I mean, I would not know the privileges of being a man. So, at all.
And we think our official stance on the show is that all men are exactly the same and all women are exactly the same. So
Yeah.
take that for what it's worth.
Okay.
Okay, you go ahead. Mike, what do you think?
Oh, okay, it's my turn to talk. Okay.
Yeah, because Ryan wanted to go last.
For now. Like
For
just,
now. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because,
Right
it's
this
harder
second.
for me, right?
Yeah.
And you have to put the muzzle back on.
You have to go to Canada right when this is done. So answer quick, and then we're sending you to
We've
Canada.
already told you. We don't even know why you're still here.
Yeah.
Okay, so clearly, no matter how I answer this, I'm wrong. So.
Yes. Correct.
Okay, fair enough.
Know that ahead of time.
I'll say this. Me personally, like, it's difficult for me to answer because to me it's such a non-issue. I haven't put as much thought into it as most people would think. So, like, let me give you an example. So my mom was talking to me the other day, and she's always like either assuming I have Asperger's or I have like some kind of weird like emotional detachment or something like that, because like she's a very emotional person and she engages with people like on a pretty deep level very quickly. It's kind of one of her strengths. And me, I guess I'm just slower to trust people, so it's harder for me to establish like an emotional bond with people. One thing she did notice is like she's like you're very not judgmental. And like she is kind of judgmental. She doesn't mean to be, but she'll jump to conclusions about people just based on very little information. And she's like, you're weirdly not that way. Like you didn't get that from me. Where did you get that from? And, to me, the question itself kind of seems like the problem, right? Like we're focusing on like what are the differences? I'm a man, you're a woman, and let's fight it out over who's got it worse, right? And then you've got the women's activists and the men's right activists, and they're all saying, "No, we have it worse. No, we have it worse." But I think it would be
therein lies the problem. Is anytime you say this particular group has it, worse than everybody else, then you're just creating more issues.
Yeah, I mean the problem is perpetuated by this like sense of self-martyrdom, like well if we have it worse, then we win, kind of like that's almost the
attitude. Although the MRAs have a lot of good points.
A lot of good points, man.
Oh man,
I think it would be far more constructive to just come to the table and say, look, let's establish a system where you're going into it not knowing if you're going to be a man or a woman. Because then it's going to be very even-handed because you don't know what side of that coin you're going to land on.
Mm-hmm. All right, follow that.
Yeah. I've heard of people in the military being accused, trans people in the military being accused of just doing it so that they have an easier PT test.
Oh, God.
You know, stuff like that. And so that was kind of like something that I had in the back of my mind when I was considering all these things about a year ago. But that's so far from why, you know, I decided
that probably wouldn't even be on your top 10 list of reasons.
Wait,
you know?
so Ryan, you didn't just decide to be trans because you're lazy? What? I thought that's why everybody did it.
That's why I do everything.
Yeah, and I know people are going to make jokes about that and stuff, but you know, I'm in this weird space right now where I'm dressing like a lesbian. You know, lots of flannel and combat boots and stuff like that. And
that's how I dress.
You're just like a lesbian, Michael. But
does that mean I get to stay in the States?
Maybe, but probably not.
But yeah, like going.
He's just dressing like that so he can stay.
Yeah, we
I'm
see
learning to
through you.
camouflage. I'm learning to move among you. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so like I have women's shoes. My nails are painted black right now. I've been, you know, kind of, you know, like I said, making little steps to change my appearance. And I don't think that it snaps with people when they see me that I'm trans. Mm-hmm. So I'm in this weird space where people think that I'm just like a really feminine guy. And so
you're like androgynous guy, kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because you have like the black nails, they might think you're like goth, you know, like, oh, he's being edgy, you know?
Like edgy, yeah.
Sure,
cool.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I feel very much like floating in the ether, but I will say, like, I changed my name I started a new Facebook with my new name, and the experience has been pretty different. Like,
really?
Yeah, like on my.
Lots of friend requests there.
What was that?
Lots of friend requests there.
Oh, yeah, lots of friend requests.
That's a different thing.
Mm-hmm. But also with the comments, like on it with my my other profile, you know, Ryan Michael, just a, you know, regular old guy name. But the comments I would get were usually like really, really boring shit, and so I wouldn't go on Facebook a lot. But for this new profile, it's Cara Michelle, and so I get comments that are like, you know, I post something, you know, say about, like I posted earlier about having accidentally eaten gorgonzola cheese, and somebody will post like a random fact about gorgonzola cheese, like, well, okay, so I didn't know if you knew this, but I just thought that it would
You post an Urban Dictionary link to the word mansplaining.
Yeah, and
to their post explaining.
Yeah, and that was the first time
I like to mansplain everybody. Just I don't do that. I feign ignorance. Like when I'm getting mansplained to, I'll go in deeper and be like,
I want to see how far
tell
they'll
me
explain.
more. What?
I'm like, okay,
could you say that in a different way?
What does that word mean?
Yeah.
Can you explain that to me, please?
What's
I don't
water?
understand it.
Why do we need
God.
that?
Break it down even more.
Yeah.
My
I'm gonna
woman
need you to
brain
break
can only hold one idea at a time. You have to slow this down.
So the worst
Do you have any
example of this
crayons?
that I've
Can we
ever
draw a
heard
picture?
was so when I was in the Army, there's this staff sergeant, and he was in a different field but similar. And so one day I came across him talking to my supervisor, who was a woman, and he started explaining like some intricate detail of her job as if she hadn't been doing it for 5 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's not even in the same field. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's like Monday. That's just that's normal.
Yeah.
Well, it's
It's crazy out there.
Thank you both for coming on, and
It's been fun.
yeah, and
it was nice meeting you guys and finally hearing about your podcast, but where can we find you?
plug your stuff.
Plug your stuff.
Plug your shit.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
All right. well, I don't know if we mentioned it, but the basic premise of our podcast in like 20 words or less, two Texas atheists, we go around to all the different churches, synagogues, wherever we can find, and we go towards theists and engage in their days of worship and hang out with them and try to figure out what their theology's about, and then we talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah, so it's like the Wayward Willis, but less lazy.
Less Crohn's disease.
We actually have to do stuff.
Yeah.
Less Crohn's.
Less diabetic, I'm going to say. Yeah.
You're not going to
just real
catch
sweet,
diseases
Amy.
from listening to our show. So, that's a plus.
It's not hard to be better than the Wayward Willis, so.
Oh, God.
But I'm sure you still do a very good job. So,
But
Yes,
if you guys want to listen to
that's a
it,
low bar,
That's
so
true.
yeah. Just
Unholy,
aim a little higher, boys.
Unholy Generation is where they can find you, and
we got Twitter, Facebook. You can contact us there. We got an email.
They know how to use Google.
unholypod.
It's not
There you
hard.
go.
Otherwise, people are just.
You
are
can
terrible.
find actually all our stuff at the
You
Famous
don't want the
Original
listeners
Podcast
that don't know how to use Google.
No, just don't even bother with them.
Yeah, they're not worth it.
I may be able to
I
put a
don't know if
link
we'd
in the
actually
show
come up on
notes.
Google. Like, I don't know if we were a big enough deal to have a Google listing yet. Like,
SoundCloud is
I
probably
think you'll
the
find
best.
other stuff before you find us,
Yeah, but if they're listening to this, that means they know how to listen to a podcast. And if they know how to listen to a podcast, they know how to search for a podcast. So,
Okay, you know what? I'm going to mansplain something
Unholy
here.
Generation.
yes, Unholy Generation.
Michael.
Like, if you can't figure that out, then how did you wander into this podcast is my question.
Exactly.
So, yes, give them a listen. Thank you so much for coming on. If you
And then let us know what they sound like because it sounds good.
Yeah, I'll
I was
Send us
just
a
listening to
review.
our back catalog. I think we give a pretty decent show. Like we try, but
Well,
a
and I
lot of
guess
it is
We
just
don't
sticking
even
us
try,
around.
so I get it.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that's like.
No, we don't even bother. We just coast along on good looks and weird names. So,
Of course.
I should say thank you, I guess, for introducing us to the Dumb All Over podcast.
I guess.
Maybe. I don't know.
No, that was cool.
Yeah. No, that was actually very interesting because that started a whole chain of events and I appreciated it. So, all right. So thank you to the Unholy Generation Podcast for joining us today. And thank you to all of our patrons. I don't know if we have a new one this week or not, but if you would like to become a patron of the show, which we would really appreciate because we like money and don't have any of it.
I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah. So the more money we can
I
get.
don't remember what it's like, so
I
I
don't
would like
either
to
at this point.
remember.
All I know now is bill collector calls and how to dodge them. So that's pretty much my whole life at this point. So if you want to send us the monies so that we don't have to dodge bill collector calls, then you can do that at Secular Soup. Or, I'm sorry, Patreon. It's fucking late. Just Google it. You'll figure it out. All right. So
Not that late. She's just real old.
yeah, I really am. It's both. At the $1 a
Like they're not
month,
mutually exclusive.
at the $1 a month level, we have Trav at the By Any Means podcast, Wendy, encyclopediadumbamerica.com, Jesse, who sweet talked me into making him a soup bowl, even though he's not at the level yet, but he's probably our number one Twitter engager. So
Oh, cool.
I'm a nice person, so I made a bowl. Don't tell anyone.
That's cool.
I'm
I won't
assuming
tell
nobody's
anyone.
listening to this, so don't tell anyone. We also,
I'm surprised it's him. That's the
I know,
biggest Twitter engager.
big on
too.
Twitter, not on the Facebook, but big on Twitter.
Well, because I hear stories of Twitter. I'm like, I'm not on there,
No.
but I hear stories. I hear Twitter tales.
Yes, Twitter's weird. We also have
Yeah.
Ryan and the aforementioned Dumb All Over podcast, as well as Liz, who I don't know if I want to say her last name or not, but her last name rhymes with Satan. She put it down on here. I think that's funny. So we're just going to call her Liz Satan, is one of our $1 a month patrons. And big news this week, we finally hooked John from the Brand X
Yeah, we did.
podcast.
From Brand X
Podcast that we ruined. Not only did we ruin his podcast,
We broke up the bromance.
but we got him to actually pledge on Patreon, which he swore he would never do. Only so that he wouldn't have to mansplain technology to me, which was totally fair. So,
It was the best comment ever.
yes, hey, nobody wants to have to mansplain to me. It's a pain in the ass. So, thank you so much, Sean. Now you will have access to all of our conspiracy chowder and whatnot.
If you pledge more, you'll get a bowl.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, he's already got a bowl. So
oh, never mind.
yeah,
then.
no, I usually make bowls for everyone whose show we've been on or who's been on our show.
Okay.
So these two hanger-oners that are on right now may get bowls. Well, I don't know.
Oh, sweet.
Depends on if I have energy. I'll get back to you in like
Hanger-oner
5
peoples.
months. Yeah. So $2 a month we have. And
She didn't say she was going to be efficient at it.
No.
She said,
it'll keep watching the mail.
Okay.
We've got
stand outside and wait for it.
just rain, snow, whatever. It'll
Be a
come
carrier
eventually.
pigeon.
Yeah.
It is raining too.
It's raining
bad
here
right
too.
now.
It's snowing here.
Yeah.
I swear to fucking God.
I don't know what snow
It's
is.
terrible. Okay, back to our patrons. $2 a month. Nathan Dickey from the Leap of Doubt podcast.
Leap of
Again,
Doubt.
tired, brain not working.
That's
Kimberly,
fine.
Rebecca, Andy, Vera Lane, Sarah, and Sarah, the double Sarahs at the $2 a month level. Thank you so much. At the $3 a month level, we have Unholier Than Thou, who has an email address that looks suspiciously like John from the Wayward Willis. I think he's just trying to sneak into our Patreon and give us more diabetes and Crohn's disease. So if I get sick again, you know why.
If it becomes accompanied with money, it's fine.
That's true. It's worth it. $4 a month, we've got Dr. Dylan, Medical Detective, and Elvin Engineer. Both of that whole Dr. Dylan Medical Detective thing, I want that to be a TV show now. Like, I think
know.
about it, and I think
wanna
that
see
would
it.
be a really good show. I want to. Can you get on
He
that,
still hasn't
Dr.
cracked
Dylan?
the case, though. He's still working
No,
on
but
it.
that's why it could go on for like 5 seasons. At the
On the same case?
well, yeah, you got to drag it out. And, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. That's
Somebody
true.
write some
Okay,
fan
that's sad.
fiction for that. I want to read it.
Okay.
At the $5 a month level, we have got Alan, Jerry, Yesh, Amy's boring sister, and Marissa Alexa McCool and her shiny new science vagina. Congratulations,
Who we
Marissa.
love.
She was on Atheist Talk this week, too. So I just listened to that.
Sunday morning.
Yep. And $10 a month, we've got our fourth favorite Rich, as always. Alice at the Ask and Tell Project, askandtell.com, which, by the way, is a website for LGBTQ military service members. So
Yep.
Cara
Alice
might
is
want to check that out.
fantastic.
It's cool, askandtell.com. And then we've got Dwayne Randall, whose bowl may or may not be finished and sitting in my kitchen just waiting to be shipped. So thank you, Randall. And Larry Yellingman, who bumped his patronage up to $10 a month because I sent him a second bowl. So you are amazing. Thank you so much. I'm
Larry's
glad you
awesome.
enjoyed all those dicks on your bowl. And $20 a month, our favorite patron and our favorite person, Ashley, because she gives us the most money and we love her. So thank you so much
all it takes.
to all. Yeah, just money. You can be my
Are you
favorite
listening,
person with
Rich?
money. Come on, fifth favorite, Rich. More money and we'll love you more.
Knock down 3 spots.
We equate love with money. It's what we do. So that's it. Those are our patrons. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel, which still doesn't have its own URL, but you can easily find by going to YouTube and searching up
Google
Secular Soup.
We just established
Yeah,
that
it's
you know
not
how to do
hard.
that.
Come on, people. Just get on YouTube. You can find YouTube. Look for Secular Soup, funny videos.
Okay, it's where people play video games.
Oh,
but it's not Twitch.
and I added
it's the other one.
I added a playlist on our YouTube channel with all of my favorite Broadway live scenes.
Oh my God.
So you can go on our YouTube channel and find
She's
my
out of control.
selected,
I have no control over
my
this.
select playlist with the greatest Broadway performances.
This is what happens when I got all these jobs.
See,
is you just
now
went crazy.
I can just do whatever I want with the YouTube and she doesn't even know.
'Cause I don't know what's going on anymore.
You're
I
going
have
to
no
thank me
idea.
once you look at that playlist, though. There is Hamilton, Dear Evan Hansen, Fun Home, so much good stuff. Anyway, so Amy, take us out so I can go to bed.
I'm ready. And that's all we've got for now. Thanks to all our fabulous listeners who put up with us droning on week after week. If you enjoy our delightful bitchcraft, please like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and send us all your monies on Patreon. You can find us on those platforms by using the Google machine. It's not hard.
It's really not.
This week, your donations will go to Hamilton tickets.
I wish.
Yeah.
We're not
I
going to
know,
get
right?
enough Patreon money for that, but
Come on.
goals.
If you want to tell the world how awful this episode was, join our Secret Soup Talk Facebook group. If you want to tell us to fuck off personally, you can send an email to secularsouppodcast@gmail.com. Please rate and review us on iTunes, Facebook, and wherever else you can review things like this. It will help us spread the soup gospel far and wide. And hey, tell your friends. As always, we'll leave you with the vocal stylings of Eli Bosnick.
Secular Soup Creed. Soup is the ultimate virtue. It's delicious, nutritious, patriarchy smashing, racism fighting, warm and fuzzy, human-affirming, fun-having, anti-theist, glitter-throwing, tummy-satisfying, pair of new shoes fulfilling, diversity-seeking happiness. Minestrone, beef and barley, chicken broth and split pea, gazpacho, tomato, clam chowder and potato, chicken noodle, beef noodle, egg drop and ramen cup, miso, gumbo, leek and pho. Grab a bowl and taste the magic. Slurp even this.